as I was going. So when we ran into him, and I just became really angry about the situation, very sad about it. And just as we were getting done, and Luis was talking to the mom, a little guy came up and hugged me on the leg and said, "Are you here to get us out of here, out of this jail? Los vas a llevar, los vas a sacar de la cárcel." And I went, "Oh my God." And I don't know, 4 or 5. So to me, I understand that DHS is making some initiatives to try to soften the situation in these 2 detention centers and others. But quite frankly, I don't care how much lipstick you put on it. The fact of the matter is that it is a prison for women and children. And it is, I don't care how gilded the cage might be, it's still a cage and still a prison for women and children. And the bottom line, I think, is DHS has to approach this as people seeking asylum and refugee status in this country as the law calls for, in a way in which their cases are managed, access to legal support, supportive services, and protection of their credible stories regarding the need for asylum and refugees, separate from immigration reform. This is a law that needs to be protected. I mentioned the bottom line is that we're dealing with a for-profit prison system contracted by DHS with minimal oversight, very little accountability, and as much as ICE tries to provide oversight, I think it's an impossibility. And so, let's eliminate the monetary gain out of this and deal with it in a much more rational way than we're doing now, turning over this women and children to a for-profit or prison. That's I told you about the little guy that hugged me. I also want to give you a little story. Norma from my staff asked one of the moms who were there with a little baby, 4 years old, knowing what you know, knowing what you've been through to get here. You've been here almost a year in this prison with your little girl. Knowing all that, would you do it again? And she said, absolutely. She goes, when I was as a young woman, I was sexually assaulted and raped in my country. There was with impunity, no rule of law, no civil society. Breaks down, and she has a 4-year-old little girl. And she was not going to allow that to happen to her. And that's why she came to seek refuge and asylum here in this country, because it is our country and our laws are respected. I mentioned that story because I think that those were profound points. El secretario los va a dar de unas noticias hoy que van a cambiar, hacerlo más, ponerle otra carita a la cuestión tan central, que es una prisión para mujeres y sus hijos y niños. Y al fin del día se tiene que cerrar y tiene que haber una tragedia muy diferente a tratar con estos niños y sus mamás. Esos cambios no quitan los puntos centrales, que se tienen que cerrar como estas prisiones y que esas madres y sus hijos tengan la oportunidad de hacer su petición en un modo legal y con las consecuencias que van a tener asistencia. I want to thank everybody. This, for me, was a very important one. It's a huge issue. The Secretary needs to understand that this is not something you can window dress. This fundamentally has to stop the practice that we're doing for women and children in this country and putting them in